I grew up in an Italian ghetto in Rochester, New York, where almost all of the adults were either first or second generation immigrants from Italy. And they were all hardworking people and worked as laborers or in factories. I went to a school where almost all of the students were also, that was maybe third generation Italians, which I would have been. My grandfather immigrated, and it wasn't known for its scholarship excellence. Very few went on to college, but there was a time when there were good jobs in factories that you could make a living and support a family. I was interested in government and politics, was involved in student government in high school, and so one teacher who took a liking to me suggested I go to American University in Washington, which I did and enjoyed it very much. I worked for my congressman and worked for government. I had no intention of being an attorney. That the people who seemed to have the most interesting jobs and had the most involvement and had influence were people who went to law school. So I thought, well, if I'm going to be a politician, I want to be. So I decided I'd go to law school. I started school in 1969, and a case was. It was quite overwhelming for me at the beginning. I thought everybody was so much smarter than I was. I realized I really needed to study very hard, so I didn't do too much other than study. In case I was able to get a small scholarship and a loan, which enabled me to go to attend here while I was working my way through school, and that's how I came to Case Western Reserve. I started at the old law school, which was on Adelbert, and then our class, which graduated in 1972, was the first class that graduated from this new building. A class that I think probably many law students enjoy is constitutional law. And we had a professor, his name was Ovid Lewis, and he was a very interesting individual. But the class reinforced my interest in politics. A small law firm in Toledo offered me a position, and that's how I started representing labor unions and the retirement plans and pension plans. In 1979, I started a law firm in Toledo. It's still in existence, and it's called Allotta and Farley. I speak to first-year law students regularly. I serve as a mentor for the new law students, and I have since I've lived in Cleveland, so I get to interact with them, and they're very bright, very energetic, very hopeful and enthusiastic, so they're good students who come to Case Western Reserve. Both my parents died young from what I call industrial cancer. This was before OSHA and those regulations. Labor union leaders are a little distrustful of attorneys. And I think, and I've asked, when people have asked me how did I get started doing it, I told them that it was because I worked. I worked in factories and I worked through law school. I wasn't just a rich kid that the union leaders would not identify with, but they knew we had empathy among ourselves. My wife and I established a scholarship. We knew that people who wanted to go into public interest law, you don't obtain the type of salaries that people who go to corporate law or places like that. So, and with the cost of legal education, we have a scholarship for those students who wish to pursue a social interest legal career to help defer those expenses and continue to contribute to it. So the scholarship has grown over the years and helps students, and hopefully it will help more students in the future. I learned that I was selected, and I was very honored by it. I wasn't expecting that, and it's something that I feel humbled that I was part of so many other fine graduates, and to be part of that is quite an honor for me. Recognizes people who have a certain degree of moral and ethical standards that are what all attorneys should strive for. So that I think I've done. It was very satisfying getting people back to work, negotiating contracts that help them and their families, working on aspects that would have them work in a safer environment. Those were satisfying times.